This is the Wednesday Weekly Wins. Hi, I'm James Wedmore, and with 17 years online, I've built my business to over $12 million in sales per year. And this is the first non-business business podcast that shows you how to apply the principles of spirituality, energy, and mindset to grow your business beyond your wildest dreams, all from the inside out. This is the Mind Your Business podcast.
Hello, and welcome back to my favorite segment of the week, the Wednesday Weekly Win, where we feature a new digital CEO every week from Business by Design. And today I have Henry Olsen with us. Henry, say hello to everyone.
Hi, Jen. It's great to be here. I'm a huge fan of this segment, so it's just tremendous that I get to also be here and, share my story with everybody. So thank you for inviting me.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to have you. When James found out that there was someone in the guitar niche, he absolutely had to have you on the podcast. So before I give away too much, why don't you introduce yourself to everyone, who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I teach beginners how to play the guitar, beginners and people who still feel like beginners, and I show them how to play their favorite songs, solos, and even perform at family gatherings in 3 months or less. And the best part is that they don't even know how to read music. So I get really fast results for people that want to learn how to play the guitar.
Wow. Okay. So maybe you can help me, because I think James's pipe dream is that I will learn how to play a little bit of guitar. Okay. So let's start with let's go back to a time in your journey before you became a digital entrepreneur, because you started with, you were teaching people in person, right? Before you were.
Yes.
Okay. So take me back to that time and walk us through your entrepreneurial journey of how you've created what you have today.
Yeah, so I actually worked in a factory before I started teaching guitar one-on-one. So that might be a fun thing for people to know, that you can go from factory worker to BBD success story. So I pivoted finally from the factory gig to teaching people in my apartment one-on-one guitar. And that was back in 2012. So I was doing about 30 hours a week, which I loved. But, I noticed that when I would go on vacation, my paycheck would go on vacation. When I would get sick, my paycheck would get sick. So I thought, there has to be a better way of creating income that, I have at all times, right? Whether I work or not. Then that's what really got me interested in the whole online, space and the idea of making money while you sleep, right?
Oh yeah. Or mailbox money, where it just comes in the mail without you doing anything.
Yeah, it wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. So slowly I started pivoting back in 2015. Okay, so I did 3 years of one-on-one, maxed out at about 30 students per week. I loved it, but there's only so many wrong notes you can hear in the day as well, right? So it was a welcome change as well to start doing the pre-recorded thing. In 2015, I discovered James. Actually, I was watching his YouTube channel back before he even had a podcast. Oh my
gosh. Wow.
Yeah, I discovered him way back. And he was really good with his YouTube channel as well. Like, he was very interesting, and he was pretty big on YouTube as well. So I thought, like, why is this guy pivoting to podcast? I think he did that in 2016, right?
2016, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, wow, what's this guy doing, right? But he proved to be ahead of the curve even back then. Yeah. So I slowly started getting my feet wet in the online space, and I basically struggled and suffered for 3 years because I couldn't figure out how to make it work. I was listening to his podcast, and I got a ton of, great info from it, and I was always very inspired. But I was one of those people that thought, I don't need to invest money. I can figure this out on my own. All those traps that people fall into, I fell into those traps as well, right? So it took me 3 years to finally be able to go all in with my online business, right?
Yeah.
And the breakthrough finally came, not with my website, which is super simple guitar, but my breakthrough actually came on a site called udemy.com, where I was sharing a ton of the revenue, right? So yeah, that was
so they like publish other teachers kind of on that site. Okay, cool.
Yeah. They take like 75%, but you get a ton of Back in the day,
you get
it was
you have a lot of traction and exposure,
exactly.
but it's not ending up on your paycheck.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So since I was struggling for 3 years, trying to do it with my own website with limited success, very limited success, it was a welcome success having them take a cut, but I was still making a pretty good income, right? So that's kind of where my online journey finally took off 3 years into this suffering, pain that I had to go through till I finally made it, right? And it was great until it stopped being great in about 2021, where the numbers started to go down. And I decided, it's really time for me to start taking my website, Super Simple Guitar, seriously, right? And stop depending on these platforms, because they just keep taking bigger and bigger cuts, right? In the early days, they give you a big share, right? And they get you, and then it just goes down, down, down.
So your percentage gets lower as the more you teach for them?
Yeah, it started at 50%. And then as they got bigger, they're like, hey guys, we're making some changes here. It's going to be, so yeah. So unfortunately, that's what the big companies do, right?
Yeah.
So it was great while it lasted. I made a really good living during COVID. It was tremendous. I can't complain. But at the same time, I knew long term, they're going to keep phasing us instructors out to grow themselves, right?
Right.
So I knew like I have to really start taking my website, Super Simple Guitar, seriously. And in 2021, that's what I did, right? So I really started focusing on my website. The whole Udemy thing was still rolling in the background, right? And I really am very, very thankful for them, because it was supporting me and my, continuous, try to build Super Simple Guitar. But yeah, so in 2021, I started to really focus on that. And I was maxing out at about 8,000. So I would do these email promotions every quarter, and I couldn't get above 8,000. So that was like 2.5 years where I just couldn't get past this 8,000 per promotion seal, right? And in 2023, I started listening to James again. Thank God I did. I'm so thankful.
He's been here waiting, Henry.
Yeah, he's been the whole time for so many years. It took.
Did he catch your eye on Instagram with his guitar solos?
It was TikTok. Oh yeah. His flashy solos are what got me.
Yes.
It was TikTok of all places. There he was again. I was like, oh my God, James. I know this guy. So I started following him again, even though I always liked him. I just kind of I lost track of him, right, over the years.
Totally.
Yeah. So finally,
me too, Henry.
I know the story. Yeah. So we could relate that way for sure. Yes. Yeah. So I fell in love with him again.
So did I.
Yeah,
I love this. A rekindled romance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just took 1 second.
Yes.
So yeah. It was
his guitar solos.
Yeah. I got chills. I got chills right away. All over my body. So I finally started, listening to the podcast again in early 2023. And then, of course, Rise of the Digital CEO, which was just a tremendous training. And, as I was watching that, I realized like this guy has already given me so much value through his podcasts. Like I owe him the price of admission to BBD. Like that's how I really felt. Seriously.
That's amazing. I love that.
So yeah. So I finally joined, hallelujah. So after all these years. Yeah.
Come on in. The water's fine.
Oh God. Yeah. I don't know what took me so long really, but I'm glad that I joined. And so shall I keep going or do you have any?
Yeah. No, I love that.
Okay,
and in fact,
cool.
There's so many people that come into James's sphere through the podcast and through Rise of the Digital CEO. And truthfully, the first time that I saw Rise of the Digital CEO, I was just in awe that it's free because he does give away so much coaching, so much value. It's so in depth. It's like 3 full days. It's its own full course meal, really.
It's
that
tremendous.
mini
It's
course.
tremendous.
Yeah, and so he was telling me that it's not uncommon for people to watch Rise several times or be in the sphere of the podcast for years before they go, I want to get inside of BBD.
Yeah.
And I said to him, after being inside of Business by Design and then watching the progress of people just like you, and we'll get to that in a minute, like what happened after you got BBD. And to me, it's like if you flew to your favorite city and you spent all your time in the airport. All of this training is amazing, and you're still like going to a destination and there's some cool souvenir shops and you might get a wonderful view, but you really need to get out and see the city, which is Business by Design. And then you're opening up this whole new world of what's possible in your business. And I think sometimes people have no idea how much more is inside of BBD because the free stuff is so good. Okay, so let's fast forward to now. You've got BBD in 2023. What happened in this last year? It hasn't even been a year since you joined.
It hasn't even been a year. It's tremendous. I was a fan before. Now I'm a super fan. Like if I could buy like a jumpsuit that said James Wedmore, like I'd be wearing it like everywhere I'd go. I'd get
We'll send you a cardboard cutout. We've got those in the office
for my studio with the guitar. It'll work in my studio for sure. Please. So I finally joined, the heavens opened, and, it was one of the best business decisions of my life. And that's without exaggeration. It really was and continues to be. James says that BBD is the gift that never stops giving. And it really is, and I keep thinking that every day. So anyways, I finally joined June 2023. And I decided like, hey, Henry, what you have been doing isn't working, and I had to check my ego at the door and say, okay, I'm going to let this guy take over and drive my business. Like I had a steering wheel metaphor in my brain and I was like, he's driving now, So I did that. So the way that my business was structured was I always had open cart. So it's a membership. And I always had open cart. So the first big move was he says, close your, cart and have a wait list.
Yes.
So to me, that was like insane. What, I'm going to close the doors on my business? Like
and that could be scary.
Oh, it was very scary, but it was like, okay, you said you're going to follow this guy, now follow him. So it was very uncomfortable, very scary. But it was just like, trust the process. You bought this program, so just do what he says, right? Check your ego, let him drive. Mm-hmm. So I did. And my first launch, okay, so I closed the doors. I had put the wait list in place. And then I said, okay, what are we going to do now? So I went through all 4 modules, studied them, more than I've ever studied in my life. My teachers would have been very proud if they could have seen how much I was studying. I did all the homework, right? And I did my first launch in, August. Okay, so my first launch was in August of 2023. And remember, my ceiling before then was 8,000. I couldn't pass this 8,000 mark, right?
Yeah.
First launch after BBD, 2 months after joining, 13,700, right? So that's already almost double.
Whoa, I just got chills. Wow.
Yeah, it was huge. And then I was like, whoa, this really works.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it was a good decision, right? So let's just keep letting him drive, right?
Yeah.
So after that, it was pretty good. I actually went on vacation and just enjoyed myself, right? And in the meantime, I was building my list, right? I had that wait list back in place. I was building my list and kind of just getting ready for the next launch, right? Mm-hmm. So that was in November, right? So a couple months later, and then that one did 15,000 just 3 months later. So so like tremendous, right? So then I knew like, wow, I'm really onto something. And those 2 were both webinars. So pre-recorded webinars.
Okay. So you're not even live with them.
Right. I wasn't even live.
Okay, cool.
So it was amazing. I didn't even need to be there live. And I was, doubling what I had done in the past. Right. And 2 times in a row. So it couldn't have been luck. Right.
Right. So and how cool to know then that you've got a trigger to pull of, okay, if I want a cash infusion in the business, then I've got this webinar that's already pre-recorded. You just launch it. Yeah.
Amazing. Life-changing. Okay, so here's where it really gets interesting. So what I really wanted to do was a live launch like that. I
Yes.
was so inspired by Rise of the Digital CEO. I thought like, I want to do that, right? So I did a 5-day challenge, right? So that one did 24,000 and I just finished that one. Yeah. In the beginning of April.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. It was so triple,
So you 3x'd it
3x
in
it
under a year.
in under a year, 3x it, 3x.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah. It's
James
tremendous.
always says that going live element is
Yeah.
and I think that people are craving that in now because we are, addicted to our screens and we're used to watching replays and videos. So
Yeah.
to have that touch point of the connection and they get to see your teaching style and get a little bit of
Yeah.
you, he always reminds people that live is always going to do
Yeah.
better. That
And people
is
loved it.
absolutely
People loved it.
incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing because it's like it is a launch and like a sales event, but at the same time you're teaching and people really benefit from all of those lessons you're giving them. I have
Mm-hmm.
students telling me even now how much they love that challenge, right? So,
That's awesome.
yeah, it really is. It really is because you get to teach and help people and at the same time you're doing a good thing for your business. So it's just life-changing, really. It really is.
Yeah, and I'm thinking that that's so smart of you to do a challenge launch. John, he talks about this in Business by Design, but James is really big on the launch alignment model for whatever
Mhm.
you're teaching. And with something like
Guitar.
guitar, where you can challenge them to put in some dedication and some practice, and then they get to see results in a short amount of time. That's such a cool way to like, that's such a cool choice for the type of
Yeah.
launch, for the type of product that you have.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
What do you think has changed in your non-business life after these breakthroughs? Like, what's different about the Henry now versus Henry a year ago?
I'm just much more confident. Like there's just this confidence that came with the growth in the business. James always is saying, as you grow, your business grows. And it really, as your business grow, you grow. It's like both are happening at the same time, right? So I just have this confidence now. It's very interesting. That's the main thing. And, like now I've been starting to even help people in their businesses, which is something I always wanted to do, but never
Wow.
had the courage or the results to be able to do it. And like now it's like, hey, now that I figured this stuff out, like I can help people with other arenas of their lives as well. So it really
Yes.
has been tremendous. It really has been life-changing. And now I'm running ads because I know my numbers so well. I wasn't tracking my numbers before BBD. I was just flying blind. So that's another huge thing that I learned from James. I don't know why it took me so long. Now that I know my numbers, I'm running ads and I'm getting super cheap leads, and then that's making me think like my next launch, it could easily be 50K, it could be more than that. So
Right.
there's this confidence and there's this knowing that like I have the thing dialed in now.
Well, I think you did it exactly right because he talks about sometimes where people will start running ads too early when they're not quite
Mhm.
sure how
Exactly.
something's going to perform. And then his metaphor is it's like pouring water into a leaky bucket. And
Yeah,
sometimes with a lead, you only get that one shot with someone.
exactly.
So you want to be able to start running your ads when you're confident, like, I have the testimonials, I've got the proof, I've run this before, people like this, it works. Now I'm just going to put more money behind it. And then the launch just starts to expand.
Yeah, yeah, 100%, 100%. Knowing your numbers, it's so important and it's something that you should do as a business owner, but I think a lot of us like artists tend to
Mm-hmm.
sleep on that. And
Mm-hmm.
like now that I have these 3 launches under my belt, I did the numbers every single time and I got very similar kind of like conversion rates and EPLs. Well, this
Yes.
last one was even better EPL. So now I'm even more
Wow.
confident. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, and I think that what I love about inside of BBD, the module Know Thy Numbers, I think it's
Mhm.
unique for digital business as well because I came from a sales background and years in retail of managing teams where we're tracking numbers, we're reporting, we're doing conversion rate, we're doing, traffic versus sales and all of that. But for the digital space, the earnings per lead or the lifetime value of the customer or how you value your time and how you're segmenting out, this is a $10 an hour task, this is a CEO task, that all of that I had to learn from James because it's different in a digital
Yeah.
space. So I think to give yourself some credit, it's not something that's intuitive of when you start a digital business of, oh, I know exactly what numbers I should be looking at to determine if this launch is successful or not. And that's, I think, one of the coolest things that James does is he's so generous about pulling back the curtain on our business and showing the results, the numbers, or the levers. Anytime it's like we try something new in the launch, he's got us pulling the math to back it up. This is the before, this is the after, and then creating this like bullet pointed strategy of that. What exactly did we do? And then he goes, gives that away. Like actually yesterday he was on a call going, okay, here are my upgrades to business by design this year. And I think that's really cool, neat too.
It's so valuable. Yeah, it's so valuable.
Yeah. Just to have that that's insight. Like what you said. It's like the gift that keeps on giving because he never stops adding to it. So as he grows and expands his teaching, he just keeps putting more content in there for you guys.
It's amazing. I mean, it's paid for itself 10x already. You know, I mean, I can't say how grateful I am for the program, for James, for everything that you guys do. Like I said, I'm a super fan, you know, for life.
I will tell him that you said that, and I will also tell him that you were drawn to him by his guitar solos.
Yeah, tell him.
So what else has changed? What else has changed since BBD?
Okay, so the big thing that has changed in terms of working less or working more is that before BBD, since my cart was always open, I would never have this time where I would rest. So because it was always open, I'd always feel bad. Like it's open, I should be working, I should be trying to get people in, right? So I'd have this thing on my conscience where it'd be like, hey, you should be working, right? But now when I crank out that launch and shut it down, it's like, hey, we can just relax now. It's totally fine, right?
That's so neat how you phrase that too, because in my mind at first when you said it was always open, so I was always working, I was thinking, oh yeah, because you're always onboarding new people. But it was also, it sounds like a psychological mechanism, which is if the cart is open, you should be doing something, Henry.
You should be selling. Exactly.
Yeah, wow. I wonder how many people can relate to that, just like having that, I always call it like the low hum anxiety, because it's like, it's not pervasive and in your face. It's more like leaving the television on in the background, but it's there. That's such a good call out that if you don't close cart, then you aren't allowing yourself the psychological break of now we can
100%
hit the off switch. Yes.
100%. It's been tremendous, you know. And then what I'll do is I can really focus on my students. Like there's this nice switch where it's like, okay, here are the new students, give them time, give them energy, onboard them, make them feel special, make them know that you care about them, right? But it also gives me time to play chess, to cook, to exercise, to do other hobbies where I can just enjoy myself now rather than feel like, hey, you should be working, right? So that's a subtle thing that I didn't think was going to happen, but I started to notice as I was doing these launches. And my wife hates me for it, by the way, because I can just be laying on the couch all day and there's still money coming in, right?
Good problems. That's a good quality problem right there.
Yeah, it's a good problem. She's like, how are you working? It's like, I don't need to work right now. You know, like I'm generating leads in the background. You know, the launch is coming. I'm going to ramp up leading up to the launch. I'm going to go all in during the launch. Like, I don't need to work now, you know, just let me cook. Let me play chess. Let me
cook. Yeah. You know, that's one of my favorite things about the digital business is James and we get so excited for launch season. It also, I think, I don't know if it's like this for you, it makes launching more fun when you really get that break at the end of it, and then you get to like look forward to it. It's like Christmas coming, you know, but if Christmas was every day, it would be like, oh, Christmas again. But you get to look forward to it. It's that time of year, and now we're going to launch, and then we are, you know, spitballing ideas on what we're going to do after the launch, during the launch, which even fuels it, because then you're thinking like, I know that what's on the other side of this is just this like welcomed, well-deserved true break where you get rest.
Yeah. Yeah, that's been huge. That's one of those things, again, I didn't think was going to happen, but it's been tremendous because I can truly just relax, without feeling bad about it. So that's really been huge as well. And like you said, my next launch is coming up in September. So now I'm literally going to go to Croatia in July. I'm not going to work for 1.5 months. I do that every summer. And then in September, I'm going to ramp up and do another launch. And I'm looking forward to that. And I'm going to be fully rested.
That is awesome.
Yeah,
I love this. Okay, so what would you say to the entrepreneur that's in James's world already, maybe even just listening to this podcast right now, or they've done the Rise of the Digital CEO, or they registered for it, but they're holding themselves back in terms of being ready for, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to get into business by design.
I was really thinking about this a lot, because I've heard James say in the past, that he's offered students their money back, people that have already joined, but they're never allowed to log in again. And they've said no, right? I've heard him say that.
Yeah.
So it got me thinking, like, what would my number be? Right. So I actually
to give BBD back,
give it back. Like, what would my number be? So I was thinking, and I'm not joking, like if you offered me $100,000 today, but I had to delete James from my brain, right? So no BBD, no James, he'd be deleted from my brain, like Men in Black.
It's like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. Yeah, like Men in Black, just like flash.
Yeah, Men in Black, boom, he's out of my brain. $100,000 cash today. I would not take that money, and I'm not joking. I would not take the money because it's absolutely worth it. It's so worth it. So if you're on the fence and you're looking for a, Lego step-by-step Lego manual that will, if you're willing to put in the time and do the work, you're guaranteed to get results, right? It's just, are you willing to go through the course and actually put in the time? You're going to get the results. So it's worth 100K to me, so if you're not willing to put out a couple, whatever he's going to be asking this year, you really should,
I agree. Henry. There's not a price in the world that I would give James back for.
But I'm serious. I would not give it back for $100,000 today. I really wouldn't, because I know amazing. I'm going to make way more than that, already now I've made a lot, and over the next couple of years, it's like, I don't see why I'm not going to be doing 7 figures in a couple of years. Right. So
yes,
it's a no-brainer.
And that's so exciting. I was talking to him the other day about, just like the mindset shift that I see starts to unlock for people once they get inside business by design, because in a normal job, like let's even if we look back at like when you were teaching guitar, same product essentially, but it's being promoted by someone else. Or let's say that you have a 9 to 5 and you have a regular boss, like my career in retail. There was opportunity definitely for upward mobility or to get a raise or to make more on your bonus check every year. But the scope of a quantum leap in revenue, that was not possible. It was like the best you were hoping for was in the range of a few more $1,000s at the end of the year. Not like I'm going to 3x my revenue in 9 months. You know what I mean? So I think that
100%.
Once people get that traction inside the program, it becomes so exciting because then you're at the driver's seat and you can go, I'm going to decide how much to spend on ads. I know how to control the size of my launch. I can decide how much am I going to work? How much am I not going to work? James comes to me all the time and says, how much do you want to work on this? Like, do you want to put in a lot of work and we're just like going full throttle and we're going to blow the lid off and make a lot of revenue? Or do you want to kind of lean back, do a little email campaign, have it be automated, but it won't make as much money because we're not live? And it's a choice.
It really is business by design. Yeah.
Yeah. And life by design too. That's my favorite element of it, is that, going to Croatia for a month and a half, you don't get to do that when you're required to show up every day for another company or another boss or a 9 to 5. And that's really what he's about.
I could be working in that time. It's a choice. Sure. Like, I'm going to relax over the summer. Like, that's
bring your laptop.
Time. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I got to take my guitar, my laptop, and it's so it really is. You have so much control with this online business. Another thing I've been doing is I've been doing one-on-one coaching, like high ticket selling at like $1,750 for one-on-one coaching. And before BBD, the highest price point I ever asked was $200. And now like I literally closed 5 people in the last like month, averaging at about 1,500.
Wow.
You know,
that's incredible.
Yeah. And that's all because I want
gosh.
to. I don't have to do that. It's like a choice. I enjoy working with these one-on-one students, and it's because I like it, I'm doing it. Right.
Yeah.
So life-changing, you know, life-changing is an understatement, honestly, you know. So send me the jumpsuit, send me the, you know, the picture of him with the guitar.
You need the cardboard cutout with the guitar for BBD Live. I love it. Oh my gosh, Henry, I love your story so much. I know that James and I are like mega rooting for you. I can't wait to see where you are in a year, because what you've done in your first year, you're just going to be off to the races in year 2. And for anyone listening that wants to connect with you, where can people find you?
Yeah, so my guitar Instagram is Henry Olsen Guitar. And lately I've been doing this kind of business stuff where I'm talking about business on Instagram as well. And I'm doing that together with my son. So I'm actually teaching him my lessons.
Wow.
Yeah. He's putting the captions on all the videos. So he has to hear all the dad advice because he's putting the captions on the videos, the text, right? So that's Henry Olsen Coaching on Instagram, if people want to see that, like the day-to-day, like what I'm teaching my son.
I love that. So reach out to Henry if you want to connect with him on the Instagram. We could link that up in the show notes. Henry, thank you so much for being so generous with your time and for sharing your story. It's just so inspirational to talk to you and hear from you. And I know that James will be following you on the Instagrams for all of the guitar.
Yeah. I love watching him play. Tell him that I really love watching him play.
Hey, and if you ever make it over to Sedona, you got to come over for a jam sesh. He's got quite the guitar collection going on.
Yeah, that's in the cards too. I'm going to be coming. I'll be there. We're going to meet for sure.
Let's do it.
For sure. Yeah,
well, we've got a place waiting for you whenever you want to come visit.
Yeah, well, I'll do it. You'll see. One day I'll be there.
Okay, Henry, thank you so much. And thank you everyone who's been listening. You can join us again on Wednesday for another Wednesday Weekly Win, and we'll catch you next time on the Mind Your Business podcast.